Hey, good morning. It's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm again. I want to show you today how to prune a severely overgrown rose. And this one is severely overgrown. It's probably been in the ground for close to 20 years. It's a red double knockout rose. And the red double knockouts, if you're not familiar with them, are a very common rose on the market. The knockout series makes up a substantial portion of all the roses sold for gardens in North America today. It actually has a decent little scent. It blooms non-stop all year, is fairly resistant to foliar disease, and they've marketed it as a sort of a bulletproof, reduced care plant, which is all fine and all true, except that you can't ignore it forever or else it will get to this size here. So I'm going to be pruning it down. I do actually like these roses, but they're a bit common for me. They don't need my help in propagating them. There's lots of people selling them, so I have recommendations that will fulfill some of the similar qualities in the garden, but aren't quite so common. I'll show you those towards the back end of the video, just a couple of recommendations of roses that are trouble-free and adaptable, but aren't quite so common as a knockout. Before I get going with the pruning job here, let's have a look underneath the plant and see what its condition is. All right, looking under the skirt of this thing, I can see that it's actually not one rose, it's 3 roses. One there, that's the base of one of them. Here's a second one, and there's a third one here, but there's something wrong with this one. It's actually split and cracked down the middle here. If you look there, you can see that it's detached. This is right beside a roadway, and it's actually been hit by a truck, being backed into by a truck. So can I save it is the question. And the answer is that if I pull on this here, I get a lot of sway there. Even if I were trying to save it, this portion here, of course, is just detached from the stem entirely. This one here is rockering around so freely that I don't think it will ever make a good rose again. And because I have such a well-grown grouping of roses, and I have 2 other healthy roses to go with, I'm not even going to try to save it. So I'm just going to saw that one off at the base, pull it out, and continue on to the rest of the pruning. All right, before I get to lopping this thing, let me show you some of the tools I'll be working with. Normally when I'm pruning roses, I go with my just trusty Felco pruners here, my hand bypass pruners. For small cuts, this is perfect, but because I'm dealing with a beast here, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to my bypass loppers. Now, bypass is the style of the blade, and I'm not sure you're going to get a good enough close-up view of this, but maybe I'll insert something, is that this blade here passes by this stationary part here, the holder, or the thing that's going to cradle the stem in there when you close it. And when it passes by it, it shears off the plant material. There's another style called an anvil pruner, where this just goes against a piece like this and sort of crushes the plant material in. I don't know why they make it, maybe somebody can answer for me, but I don't know why you'd want to crush your stems before you cut them. I also brought with me today a small pruning saw, just in case there's something thicker that can't get around and I'll have to cut that out. So I went ahead and sawed off the base of that badly damaged rose in the group, and now I'm ready to start my main pruning. The thing is, from where it is right now, I can't see anything. I can't see where I'd like to make the structural cuts, and I know that I want to take this thing down to at least half its height. I could even go deeper if I wanted to, but for now, I'm going to go down to about half its height, and to do that, I need to see what I'm doing. So I need to make some rough cuts. I'm not going to pay any attention to where the buds are. I'm not going to pay any attention to angles of cuts. I'm just going to go quick. I'm going to do it with my lopper. This one here. I need to clean my blade before I get started. I've used this lopper on other roses in my garden, so I'm going to put some quaternary disinfectant on here just to get rid of any chance of passing viruses or bacteria or any other diseases between the roses. I make sure I'm running with a good sharp blade, which I've already done. I've sharpened the blade on this one here. And lastly, before I get going here, I'm going to go ahead and put on some work gloves. I'm just going with regular heavy work gloves because they're what I have with me. All right, so hang tight. I'm just going to leave the camera on and start hacking away at this thing. And you can see I'm not taking too much time with decision making on any individual cut, otherwise this will take me forever. I'm just trying to roughly get a lot of material off the top of it so I can see closer in and then decide which stems stay and which ones go. Alright, so as you can see, what I just did there took very little in the way of skill or finesse. It was just me and a big pruner taking it down to a height where I can actually see what I'm doing. Now I'll get in closer and start making decisions on shaping the rows and which stems I want to try to keep. So now that I've opened it up so I can see what I'm doing, I can start following some of those pruning rules I outlined. So for instance, if I want to look for dead, damaged, and crossing branches, I can just zoom in here and see that, yeah, those ones are badly crossing. And if I aim the camera down and back up a bit, you can start to see that I need to make some decisions on big pruning. Like, what are the large stems that I want to keep on this plant? And truth be told, this one grows right into the center of the plant. So I'm going to take that one down with my loppers. And you can see that these loppers can handle quite a large, get that out of the way, quite a large branch like that with no trouble at all. It isn't crushing it. It isn't splintering it. It's just a nice clean cut down low there, and maybe I can zoom in on that as well. So this may be the trickiest and most intimidating bit here, is when you have all of these stems, just a nest of stems coming out there, and you have to decide which ones stay and which ones go. So I'm going to start working on that here. I'm going to try to comment on why I'm choosing to get rid of the stems that I am. But down here low, there's quite an old stem with a lot of black or dark colored wood on it. So you can see there that there's really, it's quite an old piece of wood with some dead craggly material on it. So that I want to take out to clean up the shrub. In towards the center here, I like to clean it up at the center so that there's better air circulation. So I'm going to get those out of there, and in fact I think this one is already cut. There you go. So I'll pull that one out, and there's a dead bit hanging off of this branch here, and actually that's coming right from the base, so I'm going to take that out and that out, again aiming towards cleaning up the center of the rows. Once you have a bit of a view in the center of the rows, you can actually start making some decisions about what you'd like to keep. Like for instance, back here I've got a nice bit of a younger branch that's heading out at a good angle towards the outside of the rows. I think I'd like to keep that one, but I don't want to keep it at full height, so I'm going to take it right back to here. Now, I told you I don't pay a lot of attention to which way the buds are facing, but I do pay attention that there is a bud that looks promising right up at the top of this branch here. So I'm going to leave that on and then start looking for more wood to take off. Some people claim that there's a rule that you shouldn't take down more than 1/3 of the wood on a rose at a time. And you can already tell that I'm going much, much heavier than that. I'm happy to take a bunch down from this rose because my experience has shown me that knockout roses in general, or in specific, and a lot of roses in general, will actually recover nicely from a deep prune if they're overgrown and it's at the right stage of the season. And the right time of the season, when I say that, is when there's still some time for the plant to recover. So right now we're in late May, and I have all of June, July, August, September for this to recover and get ready for winter. Some of these pruning choices are rather arbitrary. Do I like the shape? Does it feel balanced? That's quite arbitrary, but you're gonna have to make those decisions, and tell you the truth, you can't go too far wrong because the rose will grow back in the places where it needs to, as long as you've left some of the framework in there. The rose will grow in the direction it needs to fill in. Starting to get some happiness here. And yeah, it seems like a really, really deep cut now, but that's okay. I'm just going to take a few more cuts just to balance it here. And then I'll do some cleanup. So let me give you a look at the results here. You can definitely see that there are 2 roses here now. And what I've done is I've made them nice and open in the center, sort of vase shaped. None of the branches are really interfering with each other's space. You would definitely call this a heavy prune. I took off well more than 2/3 of the height of the plant. And here's the second one. And you can see that once you get going on this, you could actually keep these 2 branches here as much as you want, still like in each other's space. They're not rubbing, they're not causing a problem. But as they begin to grow, it's something I might want to look at again and decide whether I want to eliminate one of those. But you can see that in general, every branch has its own space in the shrub, and that it's now ready to recover. Now I can already hear you guys asking for an update to this. That was a really, really deep prune, Jason. Let me show us that it actually worked. Well, happily I had some forethought on this, and last summer I pruned a matching set over here. And you can see that the height of it is getting back to height now, but it's way, way, way more manageable. Total height of that is probably somewhere around 4.5 feet right now. Lots of blooms on it, and I followed exactly the same process. Just cutting it down from what it was, a tall shrub equal in size to this one, but just bringing it down to the bare bones of what I want to see growing. Alright, so I know this video is running long, but I promised to show you a couple of examples of roses that have some of the same qualities as knockout roses in terms of being carefree, compact, quite nice to grow. And this is one of them. This is Rose de Rescht, from a very different class of roses. It's a Portland rose, so it's an ancient rose. And this one here has beautiful quartered blooms, and the scent on it is outstanding. I think it combines some of the best qualities of the strong perfume of damask roses with the long-lasting fragrance of the gallicas. So it's a fantastic shrub, and as I say, compact with minimal pruning, fairly carefree in the landscape. It's just It lives here, it does its thing, it combines well with the other stuff in the garden. Couldn't ask for more from a rose. Another rose I have no hesitation recommending is this one here, Sally Holmes, with these big white flowers. Actually, they start out in bud as kind of an apricot color and then open out to these sort of light pink to white blooms. Overall, when it blooms that heavily, because it's got big clusters of flowers, it can resemble a hydrangea in the garden. In terms of being adaptable, it can take a little bit of shade, it can take a little bit of poor soil, it can be trained as a climber if you want it to, or being kept down low as a shrub like this. So in terms of it being an adaptable, easy to grow garden shrub, it's hard to beat Sally Holmes. All right, thanks for sticking it out today with me. I know it was a bit of a longer video, but I didn't want to skip any steps while we went through how to rehabilitate your overgrown roses. I guess in summary, I'd say you got to be a little bit courageous and take those hard cuts. I know it looks a bit scary to cut your rose that low, but about the worst thing you can do to an overgrown rose right now is leave it alone. One last thing I'll say is it might be a good time to introduce some compost or manure or a reasonable amount of fertilizer to help your rose to recover from that prune. All right, thank you so much for watching today, and let me know how your pruning goes.